Tell me, how often do you feel depressed for no reason? When you feel so terrible in terms of emotions that you want to howl and climb the wall, while knowing that there are no special reasons for frustration. People usually call it getting off on the wrong foot or complaining about the weather. But I figured out the reason for this phenomenon. It seems that we need to start from the beginning so that you understand everything correctly. The first time it happened to me was for a terribly stupid reason. When I was just a kid, I used to run across an abandoned bridge with my friends. It is clear that there could be no question of security here. At one point, I lost all interest in the game and decided to return. This feeling of utter hopelessness weighed on me. Lost in thought, I did not notice the absence of several bars under my feet. I came to myself on the floor. I looked up at the sky and saw my friends nearby. I think I was missing a couple of front teeth in my mouth. There was no pain. I lost consciousness. I woke up in my bed in the morning. At first, I was terrified of what I remembered. Later, he attributed it all to a very realistic dream. I even looked at myself in the mirror, but my teeth were still there. My jaw hurt a little, though. My friends have never even heard of any old bridge. I thought it was my imagination and soon forgot. The second time it happened was a couple of years later. I couldn't even move in the morning, but no one canceled my studies. At that moment, I realized that I was late and decided to run across the road. Pedestrians managed to make way for a car running a red light, but I wasn't careful enough to avoid a collision. There was no pain again. I don't even remember the moment when it happened. Again the sky, again the crowd of people nearby. I close my eyes. I wake up in my bed again. The whole bed is soaked with sweat, my hands are cold and shaking. I remembered that long ago incident with the bridge and examined myself in front of the mirror in the same way. Not a single scratch, just a slight pain in my back. Nonsense, it can't be like that. That's when I started thinking about what was happening to me. Most likely, I'm just dying, and then I find myself back at home, sleeping. But why and how does it work? After rereading a lot of literature on this topic, I even signed up for the library under my house. I came to the conclusion that every time I die, and every time I move to a parallel universe. I'm sure this happens to all people, they just forget this transition, but I don't. Some kind of malfunction in the universe or maybe God's providence, I do not know. My life used to be very boring, but from that day on it became my main entertainment. When I woke up in the morning, I already knew what day awaited me today. If the mood was great this morning, then there won't be anything interesting today. But if I'm depressed and can't even get out of bed, then it's going to be an interesting day. The fun was to guess what day awaits me tomorrow and what kind of death I will die today. Absolutely everyone stopped communicating with me. I began to walk the streets alone for a long time, until dark, thinking about my share. Everyone around me was annoyed that listening to them, they only talked about what they were afraid of. But I'm not afraid of anything. If I'm not afraid of death, then what else should I be afraid of? After all fears are based on a threat to life, and nothing threatens my life. It's been a few years since that discovery, and I've died a couple hundred times. During all this time, I asked a lot of people, and no one knew what it was. What's happening to me has never happened to anyone else. It still remains a mystery to me. I hope that someday I will be able to solve it. Maybe I was given these powers from above for some purpose. So far, no one can give an answer, not even myself. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Anton finished his story. The guys who were listening to him exchanged glances. Well, it itches. Listen, if I had wheels inserted like that, I would eat them by the kilos every day. The first one grinned. You're doing it anyway, the second one replied in a displeased tone. Anton, not hearing them, continued his story. Seeing that the bleary eyes of the interlocutors were fixed somewhere on the wall, he made one last attempt to convince them. He resolutely got up from the floor where he had been sitting all this time and went to the balcony. One of the guys, who was still conscious, followed Anton with an unseeing look. He went out onto the balcony and opened the window. He shouted into the night, "I'll prove it to you all. Am I cheap in your opinion?" He opened the window even wider and stood with his feet on the sill. He stepped forward. There was a scream and a muffled thud on the ground. The two friends immediately came to their senses and ran to the open window. The pills they took to make the evening more fun had a sedative effect. They both stared at the corpse of the young man who had fallen from the 9th floor. One of them suddenly spoke up. "Maybe he will come back to life tomorrow morning, but surely he will remain dead for us? Well, he'll come alive tomorrow, so we'll see." "What were you listening to?" "He said in the new world, but we'll stay in the old one." "Well, let's follow him then. Maybe we'll find out something new. Why are we even fussing over this like he didn't just make it up? Do you believe him or something?" "But it's true. He said that you feel terribly depressed before this transition, right? He'd been having fun all evening." "Maybe he was angry, yes, but I didn't see him upset." "Is it possible to die happy? Or maybe if you do it on purpose, it won't work?" "Never mind," one of his friends replied wearily. Several people gathered under the balcony, who had already managed to call the police. The dead guy was taken away, the residents of the house smoked, discussed the situation, and went to their apartments. And only two silhouettes stood on the dark balcony until the morning, trying to delve into the mystery of life and death, but for the rare passers-by they were just drug addicts who had caught the pale one.